Okay. Tai yajnam barhishi prokshan purushan jatam agratah tena deva ayajanta sadhyarshayaschaye. So let's just again bring a little bit of context. We were talking about the process of creation. And in that process, we saw the last time was Saptasyasan paridayah trisaptas samidah kritaha deva yadyajnantan vanaha abadhnan purusham pashum. So there is whole sacrificial stage set up for sacrifice. We spoke about what is sacrifice, yajna, what it means. So there is this process of sacrifice where all of these various things that are available, even the Purusha himself is offered as a sacrifice. Why is this sacrifice happening? So that creation can happen. Sacrifice is happening so that creation can happen. So it shows that for anything to occur, sacrifice is excuse me. இன்னைக்கு ஒரு தூபம் போட்டிருக்கேன். Suddenly it's a lot of smoke. So the Suktam talks about even for creation to happen, sacrifice is essential. Yajna is essential. And who gets tied as the animal? Abadhnan purusham pashum. The Purusha himself gets tied as the pashu. And what is offered there? So if you recall, all your Trisapta Samidah Kritaha. So as Samit, the 3 into 7, Trisapta, 21 Tanmatras or entities or 21 principles are offered into the fire as Samit. Saptasyasan Paridhayah. There are boundaries created by means of, there are 7 boundaries that are created. So the 5 elements and the day and the night. Right? All of this forms the boundary of the Yajna Kunda. And then you're offering Samit, the sacrificial twig is offered. What are they? What it symbolizes? These 21 elements or the 21 principles that we have, which is the 5 tanmatras we said: sound, touch, form, taste, smell. And then your organs of 5 organs of perception, which is the Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Prana, and the Antahkarana. All of this is offered as the Samit, as a sacrificial twig into the Homa. And the animal that is tied down as a sacrificial animal is the Purusha himself. Abadhnan Purusham Pashum. And he goes on to say, Tai Yajnam Barhishi Prokshan. How was this animal then sanctified? This animal is sanctified by means of 2 things. One is the sacrificial water, prokshanam. Prokshanam means to sprinkle. You sprinkle sacrificial water or sanctified water. Not sacrificial water, sanctified water. Sprinkle sanctified water, and you make him sit on barhishi. Barhishi is what? Barhishi is kusha grass. Darba. Barhishi prokshan. You make him sit on a kusha grass and you sprinkle sanctified water. Okay. Tai yajnam, in that sacrifice, you bring the barhishi and you sanctify it with sanctified water. Purusham jatam agratah. Who do you do this to? The Purusha who came ahead of everything. Tena deva ayajanta. By that, the god they make the sacrifice. Sadhyarshayaschaye. So all the celestials, they make this offering, the sacrifice, because the celestials don't have anything. So what has happened in the process of creation is the Purusha has suddenly just created a few things like the seasons, Grishma, Idhma, Sharad, Dhavihi. He's created the seasons. He's created these principles, the Tanmatras. He's created celestials. But the actual human beings, earth, plants, all of that has not yet been created. Okay. So the celestials, what they're doing as a process of, they have to do yajna for the creation to occur now, right? For the rest of the things to be created. So they're using, they don't have any, they don't have the necessary things to offer into the yajna. So they use the Purusha himself as an offering. So the Purusha himself is offered as a sacrificial offering. Purusham jatam agratah. The Purusha jatam agratah, who came before them. So that which came before them can be used by something that comes after them. You cannot use something that is going to come. Correct. Other things are going to come out of the sacrificial ceremony. So what can you use now? What that which is there before you is what you can use. Before you means even in terms of time, chronologically, because the celestials, etc., came from the Purusha, they are using the Purusha himself as a sacrificial entity, which means they are using the Purusha itself as something that can be offered into the yajna, which means they are requesting the Purusha, may you be pleased and may you partake of this sacrificial, this yajna that we're doing. I want to use the word sacrifice less. Let's use the term yajna more. I would like you to be, we would like you to be part of this yajna so that creation may occur. Okay. In the Nasadiya Sukta, those who have heard of the Sukta, comes from the Rig Veda. Na Asat. Na Asatiya Sukta. Nasadiya Sukta. So the Nasadiya Sukta is known as the creation of the hymn of creation, because that whole Sukta talks about how creation occurs, and it also talks about the need for why creation occurs. Why creation occurs is because this Purusha or this Tattva wanted to experience itself. Okay. Creation occurs because it wanted to experience itself. How can the creator experience itself? See, just think about this. There is only one thing. If there is only one thing, how can it experience itself? You assuming you are kept in a dark room and you're unable to see anything, you're unable to smell anything, taste anything, touch anything. When none of this is available, none of the faculties are available to you, how do you experience yourself? All you will experience yourself is as I. You'll experience yourself as this I. But what else can you experience? There's no light, so you can't see. Your eyes don't work. There's no smell. You can't smell anything. There's no sound. There's no sense of touch. There's no breeze, no air. There's nothing that feels on your skin. So you don't feel your skin. You don't feel anything. And there's no taste also. There's no saliva salivating. Your mouth is not salivating. There's no taste. Just imagine this condition. You are just by yourself. Where is experience then? There is no experience, right? You are there. I am. Aham asmi. Yoga Sutras, Patanjali mentions this as asmita, asmi. Of course, he refers to this asmita as ego, but that ego is the only thing that is there. The ego means the I-ness, the I amness, that I am. That is the only thing that is there. There is no experience of an object, because all your faculties that can experience an object are shut down and there is no object on the outside. So there is no experience. So the only way to experience is have an object of experience, and only then you can experience. So this creator, this Purusha, this whatever we refer to as this supreme consciousness, the tattva, it just existed as it is. From that, it wanted to experience a kama rose, kama desire. A desire, a stir happened. Now, why the stir happened, when it happened, that is pretty much irrelevant. A stir happened. Right? Suddenly a stir happened in that complete stillness. A stir happened. A spandana occurred. Now, this spandana is the spandana of desire, of kama. And this spandana then started making movement. Right? From this spandana, then started the act of, or the process of creation. Because this entity wanted to experience itself and there is a desire or a spandana that rose, the process of creation started. And only then can this entity experience itself. So what happened? It started there are things that started coming out of it. From the spandana, from the stir, things started coming out. Now, if you go to the Sankhya Yoga, the way of looking at it, it will talk about from the spandana, this is Prakriti. From Prakriti, then came the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And then from that came everything. This is how the Sankhya Yoga describes it. But from this context, from Purusha Sukta's context, using the Purusha that was there, from that came a lot of things, right? Tasma'at yajñat sarvahutah samvrutam prashadajyam pashugastagas chakreva yavyana. Oh, this is later, right? So earlier, this is subsequent. But earlier what came? Yat purushena havishaha deva yajñamatanvata tasmaad viradajayata virajo adipurushaha sajato atyarichyata paschad bhumimatho puraha. So the whole process kick-started. From him, the Purusha came Virat. This is what it describes, right? Then Yat Purushena Havisha. So then the whole Yajna process began. And the Yajna, the Purusha himself has now become the Ahuti. And the Purusha becomes the animal or the Pashu that is offered in the Ahuti. And who is doing this? The celestials. The forces that have been created, that have come out of this. Those forces are offering this as the Purusha itself as an offering. Now, in this process, so it's essentially an evolution. Okay, it's a process of, whether we call it as evolution or devolution. I mean, it is essentially that one is now becoming many. That one is becoming many means that singular principle, this Purusha that was there, now is starting to manifest as multiple, as the multiple. Ekam sat bahudha vipraha vadanti. That ekam sat now starting to become bahudha. It is starting to become many. And this happens in the process of yajna only, because this desire rises, and this desire to be fulfilled, yajna has to occur. That is the idea. That is the principle. For a desire to be fulfilled, a yajna has to occur. It's very fundamental to creation itself. Right? This is the way the cycle of life is built. The cycle is built in this way. If you want something, you have to do something. If you want something, you have to give something. If you desire for something, you have to offer something. So that yajna is essential for a desire to be fulfilled. So here in the yajna, the Purusha is as this the Pashu, and he is placed on a sacrificial grass, which is Kusha Barhishi, and sprinkled water, Prakshanna, sanctified water. Okay. Why do you do that? Anything that you offer, you have to sanctify it. In fact, if those who are familiar with the process of pariseshanam, before eating the food, usually there is a practice of chanting a mantra and using water to you will sprinkle water around the food, plate of food that is there, or the banana leaf that has all the food. Usually the tradition is that you bring in all the things that you got to eat onto the leaf, and then you bring rice and dal and ghee, and after that after the initial serving is done, then you do this pariseshana, where you chant a mantra and sanctify the food. And then you do pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udanaya swaha, samanaya swaha, brahmane swaha, which means you are activating all the vital airs in your body so that the food that comes in can be digested. So you're activating, consciously you're activating that. Which is why a lot of people have this also habit of praying little, before you eat, you kind of close your eyes and you kind of, either you do that in gratitude, that you thank that I have got this day's meal, this moment's meal I have got, thank you God. Or you are internalizing to say that may this food that is going in provide me well-being, not indigestion, not diarrhea, not stomach problems. May this food that is going in, but of course we also have to be responsible in what we eat, right? If we mix cheese and Coke and then we expect the body to be in its highest state of well-being, it's a little too much to ask. So we we also take something responsibly, and we also pray and also offer a gratitude. And what we're doing in this process is we are sanctifying the food. Why? Because there is an Agni inside, Jatara Agni, and we are doing this as a yajna. We are doing this as an offering. To what? To that Agni inside. And when we do that, you are, see, look at the attitude that happens at that time. When you're sanctifying the food with a certain mantra, whether we understand the mantra or not, at least there is an attitude of sanctification, saying, okay, I'm chanting this mantra, hence I'm sanctifying the food. Why? Because it needs to go in the most sacred form, of course, which is why we also offer it to God first. See, these are all small traditional or cultural things that we have built in so that this whole act is, we don't think too much about it. It becomes an act of yajna. It becomes an act of yajna. Yajna is not necessarily you sit and do it in a certain way. All of these are small acts of yajna. That is why they say don't eat sadam, eat prasadam, which means you offer it first. Prasadama saapidungo appdinu solluvaalla. So you offer it first, which means, and even before you're offering it to God, you will do pariseshanam to the sapad, the food that is there, you will do some pariseshanam, which means you will sprinkle sacred water. Water can be from wherever, but when you chant the mantra into the water, the water becomes, to some extent, it gathers some energy of the mantra chant. And then you you sprinkle it over the food, and that food is what you offer, and then that is the food that you also take in. So that sanctified food you take in. So whether you offer it to Bhagavan that way, or you do it on your plate and you do it at that time, it's all one and the same. When you're offering the food to Bhagavan, you're doing it for the family. When you're doing it on the plate, you're doing it for yourself. So which is why you'll see mothers usually after they cook rice, etc., they'll put a tulsi, or they'll put ghee or tirtham or whatever. They will take it to the altar, they'll offer it to Bhagavan, and then take it back to the kitchen. So that food now, when we consume, everybody else consumes, has already been offered. It's a food that has been offered. And individually also you do it. And this is not, there's nothing, this Pariseshanam has got nothing to do with only men or women. Although in the for brahmacharis, as part of the sandhya, Yajnopavita karma, they teach this. But this is very, I remember one mami, when I was very young, she used to do this. I was wondering, Mami, I would tell her, Mami, only we as brahmachari boys are taught to do this as part of the Yajnopavita karma. We are taught this, and then we are taught to do, because before the Yajnopavitam, we don't do this Pariseshanam and all that. But after that, we do. But this Mami would do. It's like, how, Mami, you don't have Punal, how are you doing this? So she said, this got nothing to do with Punal. It's not got nothing to do with the Yajnopavitam. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about offering food that you receive, sanctifying it, and offering it to and activating the the vital airs, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. The pancha prana, you're activating them so that this food that's going in brings you well-being. Because this food is now going to become you. And what you want to become is your choice, right? And that is why even people who do animal sacrifices, they sprinkle water on the animal. They're sanctifying the animal. Anyway, so now this Purusha is sanctified with the water, and he is placed on the Kusha grass, Barhishi. And Kusha also has an interesting stature in Vedic rituals, right? Kusha is a grass, and not just Vedic, even even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes a reference to if you're wanting to meditate, you use a Sukhasana and you sit on a Kusha, on Kusha grass. So Kusha is used as a sanctifier also. It's something that can sanctify. And if you're familiar with this practice, whenever there is Grahanam, whenever there is eclipse, we are asked to go and put Kusha grass on particularly food particles or any other such particle. Usually you can place it wherever in your house. And then the next day after the eclipse, you have to clear off that Kusha. So generally what is said is, there have been research and all of that done, and they say that the Kusha grass has certain properties. The way the structure of the grass itself, the particles or when you observe it under a microscope, the way the particles are structured is that it very quickly, and they've tested it against other kinds of grass, lemongrass, bamboo grass, whatever. So other kinds of grass, they have tried it out. And they figured out this Kusha grass has this ability to quickly attract bacteria. So if you keep it in a place, it will attract, and then you can throw it. You cleanse it. Right? And Kusha grass is also used in cases of cleansing your aura. The subtle body, the aura, the energy body that we carry, can use kusha grass to just, cleanse the aura. Kusha grass is also used as this in those who do this the Vedic rituals.
தர்ப்பணம் எல்லாம் பண்ணும்போது அதான்
Correct.
தர்ப்பணம் எல்லாம் பண்ணும்போது அதானே யூஸ் பண்றோம்.
Correct. When you do tarpanam or any other Vedic rituals you do, you put the kusha grass in the ring finger, and then you do whatever karma that you've got to do. That is called the pavitram. Correct, Mama? So this they call it pavitram. Why is it called pavitram? Because it purifies. It's called pavitram. So kusha grass that way is also a sanctifier. Okay. Then what else he's saying here? Barhishi Prokshan Purusham Jatam Agratah. It is the Purusha who came ahead. Tena Deva Ayajanta Sadhyarshayaschaye. So all of these rishis and the gods, they, or the rishis and siddhas, etc., they sanctify before the yajna is, or before the Purusha is offered into the yajna. And then from that comes tasmat, from that yajnat sarva ahutah. After having consumed everything, sarva ahuti, sambhrutam prishad ajyam. Prishad ajyam is ghee mixed with curd. Ajyam is ghee. Prishad is this thing, curd. So you mix that. Sambhrutam prishad ajyam. From that, what comes, having consumed all of this, what comes? Pashu, Vayavyan, Aranyan, Grama. All of this come out of that. So all types of animals, birds, they get created from this particular yajna. Pashugastagas chakreva yavyane aranyan gramyaschaye. So all of this is now produced out of the yajna. And then what comes out? Tasmaat yajnat sarvahutah. So this is repeating. See, first this thing is saying tasmat yajnat sarvahutah. Having consumed everything, all the ahuti, from that sambhrutam prashadajyam. From then here it comes tasmat yajnat sarvahutah rijas samani jagnire. The Vedas come. Rig yajus sama rijas samani jagnire. Chandagumsi jagnire tasmaat yajus tasmaat ajayata. So the chandas comes out. Chandagumsi. See the again, this is Vedic way of writing, okay? Gum is, again, I said, is just a sound, a Vedic sound. In cases where in Sanskritam, chandaha becomes chandaha. Becomes chandaha for plural. But in Vedic literature, you will see that aha, that dirgha and the akara, the visarga, they sometimes represent it as si. So chandamsi, gum, forget the gum part. It's chandamsi is actually chandaha. Chandaha jagnire tasmaat. So that's the Vedic way of writing it. So from this comes tasmaat yajnat sarvahutah richassamani jagnire chandagumsi jagnire tasmaat yajuhu tasmaat ajayata. So what all comes out? Richaha, Samaha, and Yajuhu. Saman, Richas, Saman, and Yaju. So your Rig, Yajus, and Samaveda, all the three Vedas come out of that. Then Chandas comes out of it. Chandas means How to chant it, that also is coming out of the yajna. Okay. Then what comes out? Tasmat ashva ajayanta yeke chobhayadatah gavo hajagire tasmat jata ajavayah. Tasmat ashva ajayanta. From that horses came out. Yeke cha ubhayadatah. And they also came out with those animals with the 2 rows of teeth. Rows of teeth mean those animals which can eat from the outside and chew, consume, and assimilate. Gavo hajagire tasmaat gavaha. Gavaha came forth. Jagire tasmaat ajavayah. Goat, sheep, etc. came out. Okay. So if you see these 3 verses, so we spoke, right? One is becoming all, one is becoming many. So from the process of the yajna, what all comes out? Your forest, your animals, wild animals, domesticated animals, villages come out. All kinds of birds come out. And then what else coming out? And then you've got your Yaju, the Vedas are coming out of that. Tasmaat yajnat sarvahutah richas samani jagnire chandagumsi jagnire tasmaat yajus tasmaat ajayata. So all of the Vedas come out, the Chandas come out. So essentially knowledge is coming out of the yajna. So what are these 3 phrases or the 3 verses indicate is there is life coming out, both in terms of material, in terms of mineral, in terms of plant, in terms of animals, wild and domesticated animals. And then
in terms of knowledge.
And knowledge. Knowledge is also coming out from that yajna. So now going back to this is, we keep the context, which is it is describing the process of creation. How creation occurred and how through creation, how these came out. But the first act for creation was 2 things. One is the spandana, the desire, and the second is the yajna. So the desire is the first thing, and the second thing is the yajna. So from that comes out everything. Comes out all forms of life and all forms of knowledge and all forms of understanding. Right? So it means that, again, going back to what Purusha Suktam fundamentally is trying to drive at, is yajna is at the core of everything. So if you want anything, participate in a yajna. If you desire for something, offer something, offer parts of you in terms of, we don't have to cut our hands and chop our fingers and all that, right? Offer your energy. When you're offering your energy, you're actually offering a huge part of you. You're offering your energy, your time, your idea, your knowledge, your wisdom, your what you've learned, your skills, whatever you offer. And then there are things that will come out of the yajna. There are things that will come out of the yajna. Now, this yajna that is represented here also is one way of, if you look at the Aitareya Upanishad, everything comes out of water. Creation occurs from water. Okay, so there is a reference there how things come out of the water. Now, if you heard of the Mantra Pushpam, Yopam pushpam veda pushpavan prajavahan pashuman bhavati. Ya evam veda yopam ayatanam veda ayatanavan bhavati. Yopam pushpam veda pushpavan prajavahan pashuman bhavati.
चंद्रमा वा
पुष्पम
चंद्रमा
चंद्रमा वा अपां पुष्पम पुष्पवान प्रजावान पशुमान भवति य एवं वेद योपाम आयतनम वेद आयतनवान भवति. So apah is referred there in that mantra pushpam. Everything comes out of water. And the same reference is in Aitareya Upanishad also, where it talks about things come out of water. But here there is no reference of that element, because there, if you look at it, you go back to just if you go and talk to somebody who talks about where did this creation come from, they'll say it came from water, right? If you watch this particular I told you earlier, Life on Earth, there's a series, 8-part series in Netflix, very beautiful. For many it talks about life that's from 4 billion years ago. Okay, it takes you, the time scale it takes you back is all the way 4 billion years ago, and from that it tells what are the different things that happen, and in that it will also show you there are multiple pralayas that have happened where life was completely wiped out and then it came back again, wiped out, came back again. There are at least 3 pralayas they show there, the different kinds of pralayas. And this got nothing to do with what the religious texts say. This is purely based on scientific evidences that they've figured out. They've done extrapolation of how things could have happened, etc. So they take you back 4 billion years ago, and you'll see for a large amount of time, life was in water. Life coming to land was much later. In the time scale of 4 billion years, it probably started coming out only after 2 to 3 billion years. So which means life as such existed much earlier in the water before it came into land. And then from land, it became sky and so on and so forth, right? So the Aitareya Upanishad kind of introduces that idea that life came from water. But here it talks about this is Purusha. From this Purusha, it talks about Yajna, and the process of Yajna, life comes out as the Yajna Phala. Okay, so one second, there are a couple of messages here. Is there any similarities between this Yajna and Kshira Sagara Manthanam? The Kshira Sagara Manthanam of Bhagavatam is slightly, it doesn't represent life forms coming out. It is a slightly different symbolic representation there, that it talks about how it is essentially, okay, so in simple words, I'll tell you, Kshira Sagara Manthanam, the ocean churning from which various things come out, consider that as the representation of your sadhana. It is an internal sadhana. And if you go through that story in Bhagavatam, you can actually relate to a lot of things that happen within us when you're churning between the good and the bad forces, different forces within us. When you do sadhana, that churn happens through sadhana, through whatever practices that you do, spiritual practices, mantra japa, dhyana, shloka, sankirtanam, whatever you do, that churn happens and different things come out from within us. Like one of the first things that come out in the Sagar Manthana is what? The hala poison, that Shiva comes and consumes it, right? So it means that there is this poison that comes out. All the poisonous things come out first. And then at one point, Dhanvantari comes out as medicine. So it's all that is within us start coming out. The negativities first come out, and then Lakshmi comes out, Dhanvantari comes out, the positive things, the beautiful auspicious things come out. So it is what happens as a process within us when the churn happens. When you do as part of any form of sadhana, you're essentially doing a churn within you. You are not letting the natural forces, you're not just going with the natural forces, you're doing sadhana, which is you're doing an active process within you so that there is some kind of churn that happens. You're moving the energies in certain directions, certain ways. And then because of this, some of these things come out. Good things. These are things. So these are representative, right? What is shown in the Bhagavatam are representations or symbols, but essentially your emotions come out. Now, there are people who have done 10 days long silence courses. There are different organizations that offer that, right? For example, Vipassana. The Vipassana course, you go there, you stay there for 10 days, the silence program. Then there is Art of Living offers silence programs. Isha offers Samyama and things like that. All of these programs, if you do, you'll realize you're just with yourself silently, you're doing that program, that sadhana or whatever. Various things will come out from within your body, your mind, things will come out. And that I see as a representation of the Sagar Manthana. That process is slightly represented that way. But here we're talking about the process of creation, which is essentially underpinned by yajna, right? Which means you want to create something in your life. Yajna is something that you've got to hold on to, which means you're offering something and life forms come out of it. And even for knowledge, you are seeking knowledge and understanding. Even for that, there needs to be yajna. You're offering your time, you're offering your mind, you're offering your attention, whatever you have to offer. It's important to offer to get something. And only then this creation that happens will be a creation that will be sustained. Right? And that is why when we go, we meet Mahangalna Pakram, we offer some dakshina. Because we say that I may not be able to come, I may not be able to meet, I may not be able to this thing, but I offer a dakshina. And today, one of the easy ways of offering something is money. You go to an ashram and you tell, I'll come and sweep 2 days. They are not too interested in that, right? Why 2 days you don't sweep also, somebody will sweep. So they'll say, you come and give me, if you give them some money or cash or something, some funds to what they may use those funds to teach more people, to do things for more people. So that way it will be more useful that way. So which is why money becomes a very easy way of offering a yajna. Offering money is also an offering. That's also considered as a yajna. So we go and put it into a hundi. But the attitude is the thing that we need to remember. What we carry as an attitude is important. We are offering something of ours. What I have, I offer that. Of course, we think that this has already come to me through the grace of God. Through Bhagavan, I have this today. But today I have the strength to offer this. I offer. And only then we can expect something to come in return. Whether it comes or not is a second story. We're not talking about that. But the Vedas proclaim that yes, you live life as a yajna, you will get beautiful results. How much yajna should I do to get one horse? That is not the question that the Vedas are trying to respond. They're not trying to say, okay, you do like 105 yajnas and you will get one cow, or 200 yajnas, you'll get a horse. No. They're not talking about the karma kanda part of it. We are talking about how your attitude becomes of service in a way, in whatever we do, and not necessarily the outcome of then that is where the Bhagavad Gita comes essentially, right? Karmanyama ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sangostva akarmani. I keep doing yajna in whatever form. Things keep flowing. And enjoy those things because I feel, yes, I have done something to gain this. I've done something to receive this. Does everybody live a life like this? That's not the point. The point is, if you live like this, then there is auspiciousness in your life. Also, if you look at saying, oh, does everybody who's got money and wealth and auspiciousness and all of that, are they giving? There are people who are stingy or who are miserly, don't give. No, there are different results for that. If you want to explore that path, you can very well explore that path also. You can try and see, okay, what if I don't give it to anybody? What I just consume, right? So then you will find out what happens through that process, how you suddenly become lonely, you become not part of this ecosystem. You, all of those, there will be side effects of those actions as well, right? So if someone is wanting to explore that, that can be explored to figure out. But when we look at these scriptures, when we look at what Mahan and the works like Bhagavad Gita, Purusha Suktam, and so many other works and masters talk about, is after several of such experiments that have been conducted. Several experiments have been conducted at various levels of human exploration, inner exploration, and they're saying now this works best. You offer and you will receive. And so we can take that and we can try that, and you will see that these give you results. These give you results either short term, medium term, long term, but there are results, because what is happening in the process is not what you're receiving. What is happening in the process is what you are becoming. This is very important, right? Now we are over by 8 minutes. I'll close it. Very important to remember, these 3 verses that we saw today doesn't end with saying what you receive. That is not the point that is driven home here. The point that is being driven is what you become at the end of it. Are you, see, the Purusha himself is willing to become a sacrificial animal. The Purusha himself is wanting to become an ahuti into the yajna. Am I prepared to become that? Am I willing to become an ahuti into a yajna? Am I willing to offer? Because what happens is you become sanctified, you become pavitram, you become the sanctified substance. That is the intention. That is what we are trying to achieve. How I become sanctified, how my chitta shuddhi occurs, how my life becomes a beautiful process within. Not about what I receive. If this becomes our constant endeavor, then at some point nature will be in so much in love with you, because it will want to sustain you. It will do whatever it takes to sustain you. Why? Because you become such a beautiful piece in the in society, in the environment, that it will want to sustain you, because you've become such a beautiful force or an influence on people around you, that nature will want to sustain you, and it will go all lengths to sustain you. But because you didn't think about sustenance, you thought about becoming this beautiful thing. You become this diamond, this jewel, this gem. The gem doesn't think that I want to give out light. No, just by becoming a gem, it will give light. It will become lustrous. And whenever sunlight falls on it, it will just reflect that light. Right? So that is the focus that we look at. Okay. All right. So we'll pause here today. Oh. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि, सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि, जगदम्बिकायै समर्पयामि, सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि. हरि ओम तत्सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. गुरुदेवा.